Sri Ambarai. Today I'll be teaching what is function. Today I'll start with Module 4. Module 4, as per the VTU syllabus, is functions. In this functions, we'll be studying two main concepts. One is user-defined function, another one is recursion. Today in this session, I'll be teaching you what is this function, why we need this function, what type of function C supports, and what are the main elements for user-defined function with one or two simple examples. So let us start. Now, what is this function? Function is a piece of code which performs a particular task. It can be any task, one task. A function, each function performs one task. Whenever I'll be lazy, I will call someone to do my work. The same thing is happening here. When main function is busy, main function in turn calls somebody else to do its work. What is this function? It's a piece of code which performs a particular task. Task can be anything. If I'll write multiple functions, for example, in the figure you can see, main function, I'm calling function 1. The control will go to function 1, which executes this, it completes the complete work and return back to the same position where it has been called. Again, after performing one or two instructions after executing, again I'm making a call to function 2. Again, the control goes to function 2. Here in function 2, after executing one or two lines, I'll be making a call to function 3. Then the cursor again goes to function 3. It executes first function 3. Then where the cursor will return back, the control will return back to function 2 because function 2 itself has called to function 3. Now, after executing complete work of this function 2, after finishing the task of this function 2, it will return the control back to the main function. Again, after executing certain instructions, we are again calling function 1. The control again goes to function 1, executes the instructions, whatever you have written. Again, the cursor will return back to main function. So why we need this? What is this? Now we'll go one by one. Any function can call any other function. So we can see here the main function is calling function 1, function 2, function 1. Any function can call any other function, or it can call itself. We'll see this in a part of a recursion. A function can call itself or it can call any other function. A called function can also call another function. Here we are calling first function 2. If the control will go to here. Function 2 is already a called function by function 1, even though it will make a call to function 3. So that is the meaning, a called function. Here function 2 is a called function by the main function. It will again make a call to function 3. A called function can also call another function. A function can be called more than once. For example, in this main function, function 1 has been called more than once. How many times you want, you can call. How many times you want the task to be performed, those many times we can call the function. Now we'll see what is the need of a function. Before that, we'll see what type of functions C will support. C basically supports only two types of functions. One is library functions, another one is user-defined function. What are these library functions? The functions that are not required to be written by us. What is the meaning then? We are not going to define anything here. It is already ready. It is available. Just we are using them. By calling those functions. For example, printf, we have used the definition of printf. The what work the printf should do has been written somewhere and stored it in a stdio.h header file. Only we are calling printf, scanf, sqrt. Just we are making a call of those functions and we are using it. Those are library functions where we are not going to write any code for that. Just simply we are using it. Now, what are these user-defined functions? The functions that are to be developed by the user at the time of writing a program. Example, main function. Main function is ready all the time? No, right? It will be empty. So you have to write what you want to do. The task you have to write inside the main function. So user-defined function is user is going to write. Library functions already available. Just use those functions. Call those functions. Where in this user-defined, you have to define the function and you have to call. So C supports basically two types of functions. One is library function, Another one is user-defined function. In library, no need to write anything, just call them by their names, and those particular functions are written or saved in a header files like stdio.h, string.h, mat.h. So you have to include those header files and just simply keep on calling the functions. Now we'll see what is the need of a user-defined function. Already we have a library function. Why we are using this user-defined function? Why we need this user-defined function? The library function coding, everything is written, just we are using it. Apart from that, if you want to do anything extra, then we are using a concept of user-defined function. In what cases we want this user-defined function? We'll go with the first one. Every program must have a main function that we have already studied. Every program must start with a main function to indicate the program has to begin its execution. Program has to begin its execution from this point. If a program has only main function, just think for a moment, you have only a main function and you keep on writing the instructions to solve a very complex problem. The number of lines, what you have written will be very, very, very more, huge numbers. So what will happen? It becomes too large and complex. If it becomes too large and complex, as a result, the task of debugging, that means correcting mistakes, testing, checking for the mistakes, and maintaining becomes very difficult. So what is the first thing? If you have only one main function and if you want to write a program for a large and complex programs, then debugging, testing, and maintaining will be very, very, very difficult. So to avoid this problem, we need user-defined function. Now, second one, if a program is divided into functional parts, then each part may be independently coded and later combined into a single unit. Now, as I said in a first point, main function, only we have a main function and large complex program I have written. Instead of that, what I will do, I will divide that into sub functions, or I can call it as a different function units. I will assign one function, one task. So all are working independently. They all are coded independently. Later, I'll combine them into a single unit. These independently coded programs are called functions or subprograms. What I can do, I can divide this large complex program main function into sub-functions, and I can write the code separately. I can combine them and we call them as a function or a subprogram. There are times when certain type of operations or calculations are to be repeated. For example, I want to find something called factorial of a number again and again I want to find. Or I want to call certain function n number of times. Again and again I want to do the same calculation. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to call that function again and again. I want to repeat the calculation again and again. In such cases also, we need user-defined function. You define what you want to repeat in one separate function, call it again and again. How many times you want to keep on calling it. Now, the last one is another requirement is to design a function that can be called whenever used. This saves both time and space. For example, I want to perform addition of two numbers or to all the numbers, like I have a set of 100 numbers. That means 50 numbers, 50 plus 50, I have to add around 100 numbers. Then if I'll keep on writing the function, keep on writing only a main function, and then 150 times I have to run the program, give the numbers and do this. One thing. Here, what I'm using a user-defined concept. Then I'm writing a separate function called add function. I'll read all the numbers, keep on passing two numbers to that add function. It keeps on adding and displaying it on the screen. So it saves both time as well as space. Now we'll understand all this when we'll understand what is this user-defined function. As I said, user-defined function is a set of piece of code or set of instructions to perform a particular task. In this example, add is a user-defined function. That is, I'm defining this function. What instructions I have written? I have written certain instructions to perform addition of two numbers. The task is adding. The task is addition. What I've written in a main function, just I've written, I've called a person add. I've called a person add. How to call a function? Function name, open and closing parenthesis ends with a semicolon. This open and closing parenthesis indicates the compiler that this is a function. This is a function. For example, for main also we are using open and closing to indicate it's a main function, to indicate it's a add function. So what we are using, open and closing parenthesis. Now this is the, when I'll make a call, the cursor, the control will go through this and starts executing all the instructions, all the lines what you have written in this code, and at the end it return back the control back to this calling function. Here add is a function call. Add is a user defined function. It is defined somewhere. When you'll call in a main function, it will go here and executes all the lines and comes back. Now we'll see what are the elements of a user defined function. What main ingredients required to write the user defined function. What are the main things to write a user defined function. What must be there in a function. So basically we need three things. One is function definition, function call, and function declaration. These are the main three ingredients, or you can say these are the main three elements for a user defined function. All these three must be there in any of the program which you are writing using user defined function. Now we'll see one by one. What is this function definition? What is this function call? And what is this function declaration? Now previously I have used an example of add. Now I will take the same example just to show what these three things are. In a main function, I have called a function add. So we call it as a function call. Where is the function definition? Here. What is the function definition? Add is the name of the function, and what I'm going to perform in the function that has to be written and closed. What is this declaration? On top of main, I have written the name of the function and the type of a function. So this is called function declaration. So just to understand, function declaration comes before the main, function definition will come somewhere after the main, and function call inside the main. So these are the three main elements of a user defined function. If you are going through a VTU syllabus, then the question will be, what do you mean by function? Or what do you mean by user defined function? Explain elements of user defined function. This carries 6 to 8 marks question. So we'll see one by one, what is this function definition. We'll start with the first one, function definition. Basically, a function definition has 6 main points. First one is function name, function type, list of parameters, local variable declaration, function statement, and return statement. These 6 points has been divided into 3 plus 3. The first 3 points is called as function header, and the next 3 points are called function body. So all function definition has, basically this function definition has 6 points. In that 6, the first 3 are divided as a function header. Next 3 has been divided as function body. Now we'll see this example. I'm talking about this part of a code. This part of a code, a particular function definition must have 6 points. First one is function name, function data type, parameter. This line is a function header, and whatever you are writing inside is a function body. We'll see what is the general format of a function definition. As all 6 points has been written like this: function type, what type of value the function is going to return, name of the function, and parameter list. These 3 things together, we call it as a function header. Now, what are this function body? When you are starting a function, local declarations must be there, and whatever the statement, what task you want to perform, that all the tasks you keep on writing as executable statements. At the last, you have to return the value, or else just return the control. This part is known as function body. The main function definition has 2 parts. One is function header, another one is function body. Now, what is there in a function header? I'm picking this point, function header. Just I said 3 points, right? Those 3 points. What is this? Function type. This function type can be an integer, character, float, double. That what expected value the function is going to return back to the calling function. For example, I'll say a function called add. Go take these two numbers, add, and return me the answer. If I'll say like that, then the add function has to add two numbers and return the value back to the calling function. In that, if I'll give two integer number, the value will be integer. That case, it will be integer function. That is integer type. Function type is integer. If a function is returning any character value, then it is a character data type. If the function is returning float, then it will be float type. Now, what is this function name? This is a valid C identifier. You can give here any valid C identifier. Already we have studied there are 6 rules you have to follow. The same rules will be applicable for this function name. Now we have this parameter list. This parameter list declares the variables that will receive the data sent from the calling program. What is the meaning? I said just now that to perform addition of two numbers, I will give you two numbers. If you are a user-defined function, I will give you two numbers. Then what you will do, you will copy the numbers what I have given in your two names, in your two different names. So that is the meaning of this. This function parameter list declares. I said two variables I'm going to give, two values I'm going to give. So you are going to declare here two variables. Type is whatever the type values I am giving you, that type you will be writing here. They are often referred as a formal parameters. Usually these parameters are known as, in a function definition if you are writing, these parameters are known as formal parameters. In a main function, those will be known as actual parameters. We'll see. The parameter list contains declaration of variables separated by commas and surrounded by parentheses. An example, int. Int is the function. After calculation, after executing this complete set of instructions, it is going to return the integer value. Some int space it is. I forgot to give you a space, sorry for that. Int space A, int space B. That means it is going to take two integer values, one in A, another one is B, and it is going to perform some task on that, and at the end it is going to return integer value. Now, as of now, we have to just understand what is this function type. This is integer. Function name is sum. Parameters are A. Type of A is integer, type of B is integer. Always remember, you cannot write int A comma B. We have to, if one parameter, that parameter's data type you have to give. If you have 5 parameters, then each parameter's data type you have to give and separate them by the comma. And these parameters are known as formal parameters. These formal parameters are known as formal parameters. Now I have completed the first point, that is function header. Now we'll see the function body. Function body has just a local declarations that specify the variables required by the function, and function statement that performs a task of the function and returns the return statement at the end, which will return the whatever the calculation you have done. The value it is there, the value will be written. Otherwise, it returns just the control back to the calling function. We'll see one example. First line is function header, and this entire inside part is function body. Just you have understood already what is this function header, the return type of a function, name of a function, parameters. There are 2 parameters. Each parameter data type I have given separately, and they are separated by comma. Now here we are multiplying x and y. Int p, and made a local declaration, p equals to x into y. After calculation, returns in the result. Where is the result? In p. We returns the result p back to the wherever you have made a call for this function. At that point, it will return back the value of p. So I hope you have understood what is function definition. Inside that function definition, we have function header and function body. So if you are writing any function definition, you have to follow these 6 points. Now we'll go with the function call. What is this function call? A function can be called by simply using the function name followed by a list of actual parameters, if any, enclosed in a parenthesis and ends with a semicolon. But whatever I have written here, it is clear with this. Here, mul is a function name. M and n are the local parameters, that are the arguments of this main function I'm passing with, ends with a semicolon. And these arguments are separated by comma. And these arguments are known as actual parameters. They are the actual parameters of this main function. I'm calling this. This is called function call. When I'll make a call of this, the cursor control will go to this point. It starts, it copies m into x and n into y and performs a multiplication and returns the value back to this point. This mul m comma n will be replaced by the value whatever it sends, and that will be assigned to y, and we are displaying the value of y. Here we are not understanding what and all is happening. We are just understanding what is the function call. What has to be there in a function call? Function call must contain a name of a function, parameters, we call them as actual parameters separated by comma and ends with a semicolon. This is the main thing for function call. Now the third point, which is first one is function definition, second one is function call, and the third one is function declaration, or we can call it as a function prototype. This function declaration or function as function protocol, prototype, we already know that anything, any variable, if you want to use in your program, you have to follow one rule in C. That is, before using them, you have to declare them. Otherwise, your compiler will show you an error message on the screen that the variable is not declared. Declare it first. So same thing, if you are writing any of the function, then you have to declare that function well in advance so that your compiler will not show you any error. Otherwise, it is going to show you the error message. If that is the case, first thing, how to declare. Second thing, where to declare. So we have 4 points in function declaration. That is function type, that is return type, name of the function, parameter list, and it always ends with a semicolon. The syntax has been written here. First return type, name of the function, parameter list, ends with a semicolon. Remember always one thing, these 1, 2, 3 are same as your function header. Just now I explained what is function header. Function, same thing, write it as same as your function header, and just one extra thing, that is semicolon. That is semicolon. It is similar to a function header except the terminating semicolon. Example, previously we have used the mul function, right? Int, return type of a function. Mul is the name of a function. Int x, int y only ends with a semicolon. This is the way how we are writing the function declaration. Now these 4 points are clear. Writing is also well understood. Now the question is where to write this. Where to write this. Now we'll just go back. I'm talking about this functions declaration. Here I have nowhere I have mentioned the function name. When I'll make a call for this function, the compiler will be in confusion that where you have written this function. So you have to tell that before making a call, you have to tell that I have written in my program such a function whose return type is integer, whose name is mul, and whose 2 parameters of type integer, and it ends with a semicolon. That statement, this last statement, you have to add it in a program. Where? The question is where. So to understand that, we'll go through our simple program, that is addition of 2 numbers. Hash include stdio.h, you already know that. I will directly start with the main function. I have declared 3 variables. I'll ask the user to enter a and b value. I'll read a and b value. Then I'll call a function add a comma b. What is the meaning here? I have read 2 values, right? Those 2 values I'm sending here. And I'm making a call of add function. When I'll make this call, the cursor will go to this point. Here it copies a into a only, again b in a b. Whatever the value I have sent, if I'll send 10 and 20, 10 will be copied in a, 20 will be copied in b. Then again it makes a local declaration int c, c equals to a plus b, 10 plus 20 is 30, it returns c, 30. And the 30 will be, this entire line will be replaced by 30, c will be now 30, and we are displaying that result. Now in this case, when I'll make the call here add a comma b, your compiler searches on the top. Is there any function with the 2 parameters of type integer and the name of the function is add and it is going to return an integer value? Is there any declaration for such a function call? So where it checks, before the main function it checks. Yes, it is there. There is a function add, somewhere has been written, which returns the integer value and it takes 2 integer values. Yes, there is a function. Then it goes to that particular function and starts executing it. After that it returns. If this point is not there, this line itself you have missed, you have not declared it, then you are going to get a error message on the screen if you are using Turbo C or Fedora for executing your C program. Now we'll see, is that only the way place here itself you're going to declare, or is there any other place for declaration of a function? So there are two ways of declaring or locating this function declaration or function prototype. One is like this. If I'm writing main function first before the function call, first I'll write a main function, then I'll make a call for the function, then I have written the function definition. In general words, if I'll write the function definition after a function call, if I'll write a function definition, then compiler always searches on the top for where you have written, is there any declaration for such function? If yes, it goes, searches and executes that particular thing. So when you are writing a function definition after the function call, then you have to include on the top of a main function the function declaration. Now in case instead of writing a function declaration before the function call, I have written the function definition itself here. You can see I have written directly the function definition. Then in a main function, I have made a function call. In that case, what happens when it comes across with the function call, it goes on top of this and it checks, is there any function by name add which returns integer and it eats two integer values? Yes, there is a function definition itself. So it starts executing that. In this case, function declaration is not at all required. Why? Because if you have written somewhere down below or somewhere after the call, somewhere you have written the function, then it searches on the top, is there any function? You have written further, is there any function? You have made a declaration here, yes, then it searches. If not, you have written a function definition itself, then it directly starts executing that function definition. So in this case, function declaration is optional. In this case, function declaration is compulsory. The function definition can be written after main. In this case, the declaration is compulsory. The function definition can be written before main. In this case, function declaration is not compulsory. It's an optional. I hope you have understood this difference way to locate this function prototype or function declaration. One example to understand what is a function declaration, what is a function call, and what is function definition, just for the three main elements. If all these three main elements are there, then your program is perfect. We'll see. I'll start with the main function. Int n, printf, enter the value of n. I'm reading one value. For example, take 4. I'm reading here 4. Then printf factorial of 4 is something I've written, and I have made a call for factorial of n. This is a function call. When you make an attempt to make this function call, the compiler searches on the top that is there a function which returns an integer value whose name is factorial and it eats an integer value. Yes, there is a declaration. Then it goes, the control will go to this particular definition. Wherever you have written that particular point, it goes, start executing. Whatever the value I have passed here 4, right? The 4 will be copied here. Int space I, f equals to 1. If n is 0, then return 1. The factorial of 0 is always 1. Otherwise, calculate the factorial and return the final value. For example, for factorial of 4 is 24. It returns like this. I hope you have understood. The question is very clear. What do you mean by user-defined function? Explain elements of user-defined function with suitable examples. So you have to write all the points, whatever I have covered today, with 1 or 2 examples. Thank you.